Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Backbone Exotics. In today's video, we're going to do like a mid review. It's not going to be super in-depth, it's just going to be like a super quick review on the Zilla Arboreal enclosure. It's meant for like small, really small species of frogs, but more specifically arachnids like arboreal tarantulas. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. It's just, like I said, it's just a quick little review. But mainly it's going to be a rehouse video on my Salmopace irminia. So without further ado, let's just get straight into the rehouse video. So first, let's talk about the dimensions. It's an 8 by 6 by 14, which is not the largest, so ideally you would only put juveniles or smaller species of tarantulas in here. It is acrylic, so you have to be careful for scratches, which really sucks in my opinion, especially down the road when watermarks start showing up and you really can't scrape or scrub it off without the risk of you accidentally damaging your acrylic. Assembly wise, it was really easy. It only took me about 5 minutes to get it done. They use silicone bands to hold the walls together, which I thought was really neat. One thing I did like was at the bottom is like a tray / bowl, so the soil is collected in one little neat area, so this should help prevent any leaks and overall it's less messy. Another thing I like are these ventilation holes. They seem to have good airflow, but contradicting to that, I also really don't like that these are the only ventilation holes. This definitely could use more ventilation. The door opens up nice and easily and it gives you full access to the entire enclosure. And it has a very unique locking method with a little safety pin to make sure that the door doesn't open on accident, which I thought was really neat. Now the most important part is the price. I paid $45 at Petco including tax, which is ridiculous. I honestly would only pay $25 or $35 at the very best for what you're getting. It's just acrylic, that's all it is. I honestly rather spend $20 or maybe even $40 to get a ZooMed or Exoterra enclosure and get a way higher quality product. Even if you look for secondhand tanks on apps like Craigslist or OfferUp or other apps that are similar to that, I'm pretty sure it would be a lot cheaper than going ahead and just buying this. Overall, I would give it a 2.5 out of 5. I mean, it gets the job done. This would work perfect. I might even say it works better than a ZooMed or Exoterra enclosure if you are a college student or you live in a small apartment, or even if you just simply want a small enclosure for a small tarantula, like on a work desk or something like that. If the price was right and this was only like $25, maybe even $30, then honestly I would give this a 4 out of 5. So if you do hear a little bit of background noise, I just want to go ahead and apologize because unfortunately my reptile room is in my garage. And what else is in my garage? Of course, my laundry machine. So if you hear the background, that's because, some other family member is doing their laundry and stuff. So I know it can be a little bit annoying. So anyways, I just wanted to get that out the way. I'm sorry, like I said. But now that we talked about this quick little review on it, like I said, it's fairly good. It's just a little bit pricey in my opinion for what you're getting. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna use a couple of pieces of wood, of course, because we're gonna make it bioactive, believe it or not. Usually for tarantulas, I like using this one special substrate that I made up. It's just perlite, topsoil, peat moss, and I forgot what else. But basically, that's what I usually use. It's super good because it allows water to drain really easily, and it also holds its shape really well for those burrowing species of tarantulas. But of course, the Salmopace irminia is an arboreal species of tarantulas, so it shouldn't burrow. So I thought I'd get away with it, and that's why I also too this enclosure is a little bit too big for it, because I decided to just get it out the way. It's gonna molt in here, it's gonna raise its whole life in here, and it's not small enough that it's gonna squeeze out through any of the cracks. But anyways, like I was saying, I'm pretty sure I can get away with using bioactive soil, and the tarantula, hopefully, fingers crossed, doesn't dig up any soil. The only thing I'm going to struggle with is providing enough nutrient for the plants to flourish, because usually you use isopods for that, and then whichever animal you have, obviously it poops big enough for the isopods to break that down and then therefore. But technically I can get away with throwing some isopods in here. The only issue with that is that the tarantula may eat it, because the isopods are a perfect size prey item for the size of the tarantula that I have right now. So we're just gonna test the waters and just use a quick little, I have no idea what the name of this type of plant is. It's really pretty though. It has some purple on the back of the leaves, which is really, really nice, and it has a lot of green on it. And I also looked at the roots. Whenever I get some live plants for any enclosure, I always make sure I get thick-bodied roots, because usually those are the ones that do the best for me. And then for the background, believe it or not, I was just gonna, just leave it plain how it is, but it doesn't look that great. But what actually happened is that I actually have this piece of background that I bought whenever I got like a 24 by 18 by 18 enclosure. And in that enclosure, I used to have a giant day gecko, but I rehomed it. I actually gave it to my cousin, Jose, for his first ever reptile. So there's that. I hope he's taking really good care of it. And if you're watching this video, please let me know in the comments how he's doing. But anyways, I just stole that piece of background that used to be in that enclosure because we did a bioactive in his, and we just did like foam and all that type of stuff, so he really had no use for this. But anyways, I actually broke this up because I'm actually using it in other enclosures, and believe it or not, this piece actually fits really, really well for it to be the background piece. So that's what we're actually gonna do. So that's really cool. I feel like it's gonna bring a completely new look, more professional to this build. So actually, let's start assembling the background and stuff like that, and let's start this rehouse video. Alright, so now we took off the top just to give us a little bit more space, and we dropped the front door. So now we're going to go ahead and put this background piece in. And one quick little tip that I want to give you guys, as you can see, I didn't plan to actually use this. It just so happened to be at the right time that I found this wherever I keep all my wood piles, and that this enclosure perfectly fit it, because I actually didn't even have to trim it at all. It just fits all really nice and snug and tight. The only thing is that there is a lot of space for a tarantula to go ahead and hide behind the back of the background, or something like that. So it is kind of a hazard. You don't want to accidentally, because I'm not going to secure this with silicone, so I don't want to move around the enclosure. Next thing you know, this goes forward and then it swings backward and splat. Now I just killed the tarantula. So unfortunately, the only way that we can keep this nice and snug is to just use silicone, but I don't want to ruin this enclosure just in case it doesn't work out. So what I do to prevent at least the tarantula from getting in the background is I just get a little bit of sphagnum moss, and I just go ahead and stuff it right there in the little crevice, and that prevents the tarantula from actually being able to go back there. And it also gives it a unique look. For me, my favorite is moss. For some reason, I can never keep it alive. It's really, really difficult for me, but I just absolutely love moss, so I feel like it gives it a more naturalistic look to it and feel to it. There you go. You see, that looks a lot better. We're just gonna finish doing this, and I'll show you what the end product looks like. So this is the end product. As you can see, it looks more naturalistic. And let me go ahead and tilt forward the enclosure. You see how before, if I shook it, I'm still not gonna do it very vigorously, but as you can see, it makes it more snug. On top of that, we're also gonna be using this little wooden branch, so it's also gonna snug it up a lot more. So now that we got that out the way, we're just gonna go ahead and fill it up with my bioactive soil. We are gonna try to fill it up as much as possible, and like I said in the review, I really like how it has the tray at the bottom, because that allows me to fill it up to that specific desired height that I want, and also too, if water does accumulate down here, it's not gonna leak anywhere. That is, if the silicone or epoxy, whatever they use to get that acrylic together, is really water sealed. So once I fill it up with the bioactive soil, then of course I'm gonna decorate it. Or not actually me, but my girlfriend is. So let's just get that out the way. Alright, so this is what our final product looks like. And then to, of course, prevent mold or anything like that, we are going to add a bit of springtails in here really quickly. So there you go. You can see a few of those little baby springtails in there. They're going to go ahead and colonize this whole entire enclosure. But just to give them a better chance at survival, I'm going to go ahead and push them into the substrate and kind of gently cover them up. But you don't want to compact that soil, because they do like that fluffy soil. So there you go. So now this is fully bioactive. I just need to one day, hopefully in the future, fingers crossed, Get a really small species of isopod, like the powder dwarf whites or something like that, to go ahead and fertilize this. If there is some fertilization issues with it, then of course I am 100% gonna have to do that. But if I could avoid that, well, then even better, because obviously isopods are pretty expensive, and if the tarantula is just gonna be eating it, those are just expensive meals. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid back on, and then we're gonna get straight into rehousing it. Alright, and my first real complaint about the enclosure would have to be the ventilation holes. So far, as you can see, I just did a really quick spray down to the enclosure, and I'm not sure if you can see down here, but all the water just seeped out of it. I'm not sure if it's coming out from down here in the sides, but for sure 100% it did come out from here. It's just a lot of water that did seep out for it to just be out of these ventilation holes. So I doubt that it's simply the ventilation holes, if that makes sense. All right, now we're gonna get into the rehousing. So he's over there, and I have been slowly moving out a bunch of the decorations on here, because like I'm gonna quickly pick it up. As you can see, those rocks are really flimsy, so I don't want, when I'm moving the whole enclosure around, this whole rock to just, you know, just smack them. So slowly and carefully, because I don't want to make too much movement, I'm gonna go ahead and remove a lot of the decorations. So this is a smaller tarantula. So two things we got to be careful about. Number one, it's really easy to squish them like a bug right now. And they are also really nervous when they're small. Specifically this species, the Salmopaeus irminia, I believe their common name is something like Venezuelan Sun Tiger or something like that. So like I was saying, this species of tarantula is really skittish, and they love to bolt. So the scary part right now is that ideally I would move this rock. So what I would just do in another instance, if I'm doing something out of the genus Toledo Cotto, Brachypelma, or a Phenopelma, I would just simply tap its butt with this little wooden skewer that I have, and the tarantula would just move over here, and then I would remove the rock, and then I would just pat its butt into its new enclosure. The only issue is that, like I said, they love to bolt. So I'm kind of in a sticky situation. I don't feel comfortable moving the tarantula with this rock here. Like I said, they are really small, so I don't want to squish them. The only issue that I don't want them to bolt. And unfortunately, my camera woman, which is my girlfriend, is just really scared of spiders. And so this is going to be difficult. I don't know how I'm going to do it. So if it does come out of frame, I'm sorry. I'm just giving a quick heads up. So what I'm going to try to gently do is go ahead and tap it. There we go. It bit the skewers. You can see that. So that's a good note. It is hungry. And I forgot to mention, this enclosure was extremely temporary. It was in here for, I'd say, probably less than a week. I got this about a week ago, and this is the only enclosure I had for it. So it was on the top of my priority list to get it rehomed. So that's why it's in a more terrestrial enclosure. But I'm gonna go ahead and slowly use this wooden skewer to pry this rock out. Try not to make very sudden movements. I'm so tempted to use my fingers, but the responsible, more professional, educated side of me knows to use tools, never use your hands. So obviously this isn't a old world tarantula. They don't have extremely potent venom, but the Salmopaeus irminia is known for having stronger urticating hair and stronger, more potent venom. So that's the reason why I'm being extra safe. And there goes my camera person running like I just said, when all it did was a quick little bolt. But here it is right here. So the size of this tarantula, I would say, is probably about an inch. The way, this is actually really perfect, the way that it stands right now. The way that we measure tarantulas is that we measure from toe to toe, but we wouldn't do, let's say, from this toe to that toe. Actually, we do diagonally. So we would measure from this point right here. We'd follow it across its body, and we'd measure this top foot. So we'd measure at this angle. I'm gonna try to put like a little line or something in there so you guys can see. Let me try to lean it a little bit more. But anyways, before my camera person faints, let's go ahead and try to get this guy in here. Believe it or not, it's acting really nicely. For the short week that I've had it, it's really bolty, but that's obviously expected with this species of tarantula. I'm gonna use the back side of this. Look at that. This is probably one of the easiest rehouses I've ever done. So there we go. That was extremely easy. I didn't even have to do anything. The only scary part is, of course, when they hang upside down like that. We don't want it to fall. So unfortunately, I would have preferred... Oh, there we go. It's coming out the enclosure. So I would have preferred to actually have something on top so that way it could grab onto something if it does accidentally fall. But let me go ahead and close this enclosure before it bolts out on me. You see how the moment it feels a little bit of movement, it starts bolting? And I was so excited to just, you know, get this video done and finally get it in its proper enclosure. And even then, some might argue that this is a little bit too big, but screw them, whatever. It works perfectly fine in my opinion. But like I was saying, I almost forgot to include a water dish. And as you can see, this is extremely shallow. This doesn't even, that barely allows my finger to go in. That's what we want, especially for these smaller slings, because we definitely don't want them to drown on accident. Just gonna go ahead and switch this little leaf over here, and maybe it's gonna fit a lot better. There we go. And of course, just fill it up. There we go. Definitely never forget to include water. But anyways, as you can see up here, it's super happy. I think it's been it's kind of hard to work these cameras, but it's super happy. It's just been strolling around this whole time, and it really blends into the background so nicely. Honestly, camera does not do it justice. This enclosure looks absolutely perfection. I love it. The background, everything just looks so natural, and it looks like it flows. Of course, there's people that do it a lot better than me, but this is probably the best that me or my girlfriend have ever done. I really love this enclosure, especially for a tarantula enclosure. And this is a first for me. Like I said, I've never used bioactive soil for a tarantula. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this little plant is a soldier and it doesn't die on us. Alright, so it's actually been quite a while since I've started filming this video. It's actually been about 2 months since the last clip. The reason is because I wanted to give it a little bit of time for me to kind of get used to the enclosure and kind of get a feel for it so I can give you like an updated review, I guess. The only issue with that is that within the month, it actually went into pre-molt. So I didn't want to mess with the little, you know, tarantula. I wanted to give him a very stress-free environment. So that's, you know, the reason why it took so long. I'll show you guys right now that he made a pretty little like cocoon in the top corner, and he actually threw out his molt right in the middle of the plant. It's really cool. I'll show you guys. But anyways, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update. So it's still holding up really well, exactly like it was the first day. I haven't had any new pros or any new cons. The only thing is that the water really does seep out. I know I talked about it a little bit earlier in the video, but definitely the more you spray it, because of course we have some plants in there, the more you spray it, the more water seeps out. So it's a little bit of annoying. I figured out why it does leak as well. It's because, of course, the walls aren't sealed. They're literally just stick together like Legos, and then they just use the little silicone bands. So it's not a water sealed creases. So whenever you spray it and then the water runs down the sides of the enclosure, that's when you get that leaking. So just be careful with that. So what he actually did was grab all that moss that we stuffed in right there, and he actually just ripped it all out and made a little cocoon. I'm not sure if you could see, but his entrance is somewhere right there. And he did finally molt, so I shouldn't be sticking my fingers in there before he bites me. And now if we run the camera down a little bit, this is where I'm talking about that he actually spit out his molt. Super cool. I haven't even pulled it out because I thought it was like super unique. And I feel like it adds a little bit to this enclosure. You know, kind of like this tarantula is marking its territory, which I thought was pretty sweet. Let me know what you guys think. And this is the little side view of the little cocoon. This is the little entrance, and then it goes right back over here. It's like a huge little pocket. I'm not sure if you guys can see the blue on the tips of his fingers, but man, I fell in love with this tarantula. Oh, you could even see a little bit of the red from the top of its legs. It's pretty sweet. I really can't wait till this tarantula grows up to be a huge, you know, 6-inch Salmopaeus irminia. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know what you guys think. I did try my best to kind of do better performance on my editing skills. Believe it or not, that 1 minute section of the review actually took me about a week to edit, so please leave a thumbs up for that. It was a long week. But anyways, I just hope you guys had a good one, and I just want to quickly say thank you for watching this video. Another thing, we actually hit 200 subscribers like a week ago. So again, I just want to say a huge thank you to all my subscribers. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.